How you doing, Tom?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Good to finally meet you officially.
I know, man. Just Twitter conversations, isn't it?
Yeah, I've just been keyboard warrioring for so long. What do you want in the background? Do you want like a Kevin Ware t-shirt or something up in the background?
I think we've got something on that. So maybe when we do it, we can... All right, here we go. This is episode number 4, I think it is, of the Swishful Thinking podcast. And today we've got Mr. Tom Bonnett. Yeah.
Hello, guys. Thank you for having me on.
Extraordinaire.
Living legend.
Surrey Scorchers legend, mate. Not just Surrey Scorchers. Surrey Storm, Surrey Sports Park. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like across the whole thing. Officially Surrey Sports Park, but technically Scorchers and Storm, yeah.
Yeah, and obviously the biggest shout out is the whole streaming thing with Stag TV. So you're like, feel like you're the trailblazer in that.
I'm a TV producer these days.
Yeah, exactly.
That's crazy, man.
No, mate, if this
sometimes.
goes well, Mo, if this goes well, mate, get yourself an agent. We'll be in we'll national TV. But, no, honestly, appreciate you joining so late as well. It's 9:30.
That's right, no problem. That's right.
Almost bedtime, and I think the exciting thing is obviously we've spoken to players and coaches, but we've never spoken to anyone kind of, I guess, behind the scenes, if you want to call it that, or on the side of kind of the product end of it. So
it's exciting, man. Thanks for having me on again. I appreciate it.
That's all right. Mo, do you want to let us know what we've got coming up today? And
we're going to be talking about your background, Tom, asking some questions about that, some segment about the BBL and its marketing. Obviously, you talk about the streaming as well. And then just some extra final questions. But to start off with, I need to pick a number between 1 and 5.
4.
4. All right. Well, this is number 4, yeah? Is it true that you sent Kevin Ware one of your Tom's Goofy as Hell t-shirts for Christmas?
It's not. It's a New Year's Day special, though. He'll get it in person. I'll give it to him in person. I'll shake his hand. Or, it's COVID, so I'll do a little dap or whatever, and I'll give him this. I said on the BBL one, I'd even sign it right next to his logo. Like, he gets a personalised one. If he doesn't try and, hit me first.
I didn't realise he had a logo. Big time.
Well, neither did I. Yeah.
Big time.
His logo, His logo's kind of cool, though.
Yeah. I like it. I only just noticed it's his initials. At first, I just thought it was a wacky triangle, but it turns out it's his initials. So yeah, it's cool. But yeah, he'll get one. He'll get one.
Yeah, I wonder what the interaction will be like between you two.
He probably won't even recognise who I am, to be honest. Which is kind of funny.
He's definitely clicked on your profile picture, though, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he got it. He was great because he got me Instagram post. He got me about 20 people asking to buy a t-shirt off me. So he's actually part of my marketing plan moving forward. So maybe we could do a collab, a Kevin Ware collab or something.
That is hard.
Wicked. Yeah, I'll get some of that if you get it done. But yeah, cool. So like I said, like Mo was saying, we've got a few bits to cover. Hopefully we don't take too long because it's quite late. But I guess to start with, obviously, we know what you do, and I think people on Twitter do as well nowadays because you're very active with, promoting the marketing side of this stuff, especially for Scorchers. A lot of innovation. But yeah, if you could just start with your background a little bit, how you got into basketball, not just I guess because I'm guessing you started watching it first, right? And then you kind of
yeah. So I mean, I kind of got into. I mean, I played it as a kid, but didn't really think anything of it. And then when I was 13, 14, I started playing a bit more serious at school and stuff like that. And kind of really got into the NBA in particular, but also the BBL. So when the Scorchers were first founded in 2015, I went to the first game. We had LVC, Will Neighbour, Teo, it was great. And we got smacked by 40 by the Newcastle Eagles, whatever it was. But, it was great. I fell in love with it straight away. And from there, I went to college like any other 16-year-old, just did my A-levels. And then I did a journalism diploma, which you can do now. So rather than go to uni for 3 years, you do a 1-year specialist course to become a fully qualified journalist. And while I was doing that, I did a year of work experience with the Scorchers, just because I wanted to be in the basketball field. So I worked with some of the old guys who were there before, who were just terrific, really, really smart people, who just knew what they were doing. A lot of them now work in really cool places. Like Ryan Morgan works for Bristol City now, so they've gone on to really good jobs. And then after that, I was a national journalist for 18 months. So I worked for a news agency, so I was writing for the Daily Mail, the Sun, the Mirror, the Telegraph every day.
Wow.
Yeah, as like a 19, 20-year-old. So that was an experience, and it made me grow up really quick because obviously like, having to go and do death knocks, murder trials, all this sort of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
There's a lot to deal with as a young person. So like, it made me grow up real quick, and then by chance, I saw that the job came up at Scorchers to kind of be like a full-time marketing person for Scorchers and Storm. And luckily, because I've been there before doing work experience, I had a good few references in-house, and they took me on. So I've been here since October last year. Kind of, didn't really know what I was in for with COVID and everything, just like everyone else. But, I've just had to be innovative, and I've been able to make it my own, and I've been able to progress within the business as things have moved forward, and I've got more responsibility now and stuff. So just trying to move with the times. But yeah, it's gone quick, and at the end of the day, I'm still only like 21, but I'm doing what I can and trying to grow the game in the sport. So yeah, I'm happy with how it's gone so far.
Yeah, I was going to say, I didn't realize the whole kind of background in like newspapers, I guess, and that side of it. Do you still have like, I guess maybe not contacts, but do you think there's any scope for kind of preaching what you do now to like the bigger platforms, I guess?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, like my old boss at Solent News, which is a great company, by the way, and they did a fantastic job with me, like nurturing me. He's also an editor at the Telegraph, and I've mentioned to him a few times about getting basketball coverage in there and stuff like that. But yeah, I think it will naturally grow just as the league grows. I think we have to be really honest with where we are, and I mean, just the fact that we can get slots in the local newspapers to start at the moment. But hopefully, as the league continues to grow, we'll get more exposure, and that's something that I definitely want to try and be at the forefront of. But ultimately, I only work for one team. It's got to be a collective effort from all 11 of us. But yeah, I definitely think so in the future, 100%.
Wicked. That's really interesting.
That's super interesting, man. You kind of answered one of my questions in that, so I'm going to ask you a different one. What do you enjoy most about your job?
I think it's the relationships with the players. I think in sports marketing, I think, there's this perception that, the guys are kind of separate from the team, but I'm very much part of it. And, I have really close relationships with so many players in the game. I mean, I was never a player myself. I've just been a fan. So, like I've told the story a few times, 5 years ago, I had a massive poster of Teo on my wall. And now he's one of my closest friends, and I could genuinely say that. I was speaking to him earlier for like a good hour about, the game last night and stuff. And that exposure and the opportunity to create relationships with the players and with Creon is something that I don't take for granted. And it makes it so worthwhile because, you're there when you lose and you help pick the team up. And then when we win, obviously we can celebrate collectively. And I think that's the best part of it, because at the end of the day, I am just a fan as well. The fact that, in the summer when we had the bubble, that I became friends with Ashley Hamilton and people like that, and now that we speak regularly, and Andrew Lawrence and these guys I've grown up watching for GB and stuff, and now the fact that I've got their number and we talk and stuff, and they genuinely care about me as well. They ask how I'm doing and check in on me and stuff. Like that's the stuff that makes it really worthwhile for me. All the long hours, because it is it's a lifestyle. It's not just with sport, long trips and busy lifestyle. With all the hours you have to do and stuff. So that makes it really worthwhile.
Yeah, I was going to say actually, like, what's your time split between not just, I guess, when you're with Surrey, the Scorchers, but also like between the netball team and the actual Surrey Sports Park itself? Like, what's the job split?
Yeah,
with that?
so I mean, basically, my job is very much just specifically for the two sports teams. So with the netball, a lot of people don't know they're part time. So they train on a Tuesday and a Thursday night from 8 till 10, and then they play on the weekend. Whereas Scorchers obviously train every morning. They're full time professionals. So for me, well, last season until COVID, I'd arrive at 8 a.m. and shoot with the players and rebound for them for an hour before I started work, just to help them get shots up. And then I'd do my hour 9 till 5, and then I'd hang around till 8 for Storm, and then do that as well. And then go home. And I live in Portsmouth, which is 40 minutes from Surrey, so I'd commute. So I'd be leaving my house at 7:30, getting back at 10:30 or whatever. But it's worth it, because if you put in the hard graft, you get the rewards for it. So like nowadays, I mean, Storm, they start a little bit earlier these days. They start at 7, so 7 till 9. But the Scorchers are still the same, training 9 till 11 every morning. So I make sure I'm there at 8:30. And because of COVID, I'll take their temperatures on the way in. I'll get the balls out for them. All the COVID stuff that we have to do just to help Creon out, because obviously it's a one-man show from him. So I want to be able to help him. And then in that gap between Scorchers practice and Storm training, I'll do all the boring, admin-y stuff.
Yeah.
And then of course we've got games on the weekend. So I mean, it's pretty constant, but I wouldn't have it any other way, to be honest, because I just love it so much. I'm willing to put in the extra hours.
Yeah, I didn't realise that Creon's like a one-man band.
He's the only full-time coach. He's director of basketball, so he runs everything. So I mean, in terms of the Scorchers setup, there's him, and then there's Tracy, who's our team administrator, and she is wonderful. She doesn't get anywhere near as much like public credit as she deserves. She's absolutely amazing. She does everything that you could possibly imagine for Scorchers, and she doesn't like the publicity, so she'll hate me that I've said that. But she's amazing. But Creon's very much the head coach. This year we've got Lewis Gabriel, who was with the Royals. He's like coming in as a volunteer to assistant coach, and he's a great guy as well. But Creon's very much like those guys are coaches for other places. So as long as they're getting paid somewhere, that's what matters. And if they can come in and help occasionally, then that's great too. And we've got a couple of other guys who come in every now and again and coach as well. But Creon's very much Creon will drive the minibus to away games to save us money and stuff like that. He does everything. So like any little thing I can do to help him, whether that's rebound for players or do all the temperature checking and stuff, just little things to take the edge off for him so he can just focus on basketball. I'll try and do that. But yeah, I think a lot of people, there's a perception that like in BBL that there's like a backroom staff at every team, but every team has it a different position. And for us, Creon does so much, and as does Tracy. I'll just do the marketing, but if I can chip in where I can, then I will. Yeah,
that's good to hear, man. I think we need more people like yourself around the game who are just kind of, love it so much that you just add an extra benefit to it, add more value to an organisation.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
So it's all right. So it's good to hear, man. In terms of the bigger picture, I guess, for the BBL and like kind of marketing and the product, what do you make of the current, I guess, models in place in terms of like the stuff the league does in terms of marketing, putting themselves out there? Like, what's your honest opinions on that?
Well, it's an interesting one because I think, just first of all, looking at each club, everyone looks at it in a different way. Like some teams value social media more than others. And I count my blessings because I'm one of the few people in the league who has it as a full-time profession. A lot of people aren't able to do that. And that's not a hit on any other team. It's just the way things are. But the BBL, they do a good job for what they have. I mean, they're very limited in their resources. I think bringing in Selena was fantastic. And I think that she has good ideas that can work. And I think the BBL shows a really good step in the right direction. I think even she will tell you there's a lot more that can be done. And then I've always said I'm willing to help if in any way with them, just day-to-day content and pushing things out and getting that exposure. And obviously, of course, the Sky Sports deal is huge. And that's going to help with the exposure regardless. In terms of the BBL, I mean, of course, you've got the likes of Joe Pinchin, Pete Simmons, and Joel Osborne at Bristol, who are just, miles ahead of anyone else, in my opinion, in terms of the quality that they do. If I can even be 20% as good as them, then I'll be happy because they are truly like the best at what they do. And they're all really nice guys as well. And they are the people that are kind of moving the league in the right direction. The fact that Joe did such a good job with Leicester, that he managed to make it to the NBA, showcases how good of a job he did at Leicester. But in terms of like the coverage and stuff, I think it's okay at the moment. I mean, we're going for a digital age where, because of COVID, you have to adapt and have to go digital. And, each team, like I said, can only do so much if they've got volunteers and stuff like that. So, I mean, in an ideal world, every team would have the money to have their own, digital marketing person or whatever. And I think it would be a very different story if everyone did have that. I mean, I don't want to, say too much about myself in terms of like bragging or anything, but in the spare time that I get, I've been able to get us on BBC One, the local newspaper, BBC Radio Surrey, like every week. And that's just because I've got the time in the day to actually do that. And the fact that we can do that and then I've got time to go on a podcast and Taylor will jump on a podcast. That's the exposure that every team needs to be having for us to grow collectively. Being on, mainstream TV and stuff like that, it's just a game changer. So, I mean, long term, that's what I'd love to see really, as opposed to social media. It's just getting ourselves in the faces of the people who live in the local area. Because, for Scorchers, it's families and kids and stuff, and mums and dads, if they're watching the 6 o'clock news and they see us, they're much more likely to see that than the picture of Teo on Instagram. That's just the truth. So, it's just about just knowing your audience and trying to do it that way. But each club has their own loyal fan base. It's just about how can we bring them all together to grow the league collectively. And I think that's still something that needs to be figured out, to be honest. But I've got my own take on it, but I'm sure everyone else has their own take as well. Yeah.
And so the BBC stuff actually came on the back of you reaching out to them?
Yeah, I mean, so Lewis Coombs, who's the sports editor at BBC South, he messaged me personally on Twitter and said that he'd love to do more basketball coverage. And I said, well, I've been trying to get us on there for ages. So now every week I'll clip up highlights from our games and send them to him. And I'll write him a little script, say, this is what, like, just in basic terms, this is what's happened. This is what it means in the league and cup and stuff like that. So he then puts it on the news. So like, I spoke to him earlier today and we got Giants highlights from last night. got them on the news tonight. So since we've been doing it, we've been on there twice a week for the last 3 weeks, which is massive.
Yeah. So did you send them the solar stuff as well?
I didn't send him the Solent stuff. No. He asked me about it, and I said that like Worthing and Solent in the NBL, you know, take a look at them. And I know Worthing were on there the week before as well, which is brilliant. You know, I think all the Southern teams are getting good exposure, which is just amazing.
Yeah, cool.
So you've obviously been a fan since you were very young, or younger, because you're still very young.
21, you know.
But, obviously now you work in media and the BBL and stuff, and marketing and stuff. Do you think the actual product has improved? Do you think it's getting seen by more people? Like, what's your take on it in terms of the growth?
Yeah, I think it's good. You know, I think that things are growing and moving in the right direction. You know, I think that, you know, the players are good at marketing themselves. And I think that my reputation is growing through that as well. And players are smart, man. Like, they know what they're doing in terms of their own personal, like, look at what Ashley Hamilton did over lockdown, you know, getting his followers up and stuff like that. People who are media savvy are going to do well. And Drew Lasker is another example of players who are really good at marketing themselves and stuff. And I think it's good. And I think that the fact that the players, you know, speak to me about stuff and ask what they think they should be doing. And I have conversations with Ryan Richards almost every single day about whether his handle should still be Original Geezer or Ryan Richards, just because, yeah, it's easy to search if you call him Ryan Richards and stuff. But yeah, it's cool, man. I enjoy it. And I think that, you know, my personal brand has grown a lot in the last year, just because of the people that I know and stuff, and the players are good as well. And I think that the players are going to be the ones that are going to grow the league and push it forward and stuff. I think they're the personalities that you want to see. And like, yeah, these podcasts are such a good example of like some of the stories that have come out over lockdown of some of what these players have been through. And if you can get that out to the mainstream media, I think it will absolutely change the game for our sport, because there is a perception on it that, you know, it's the way it is and the way people perceive basketball in this country and stuff. And I think it's about changing that narrative that actually these guys are intelligent people and they know what they're doing. They are, you know, they're adults who understand the world and have gone through troubled times to get to where they are. And basketball is not exactly an industry in the UK that is, you know, a huge money maker, you know, compared to other sports and stuff like that. So no, I think it's good though. I enjoy it. I think we're in a good position.
Yeah, I agree. I know you mentioned like Bristol and Leicester before, but like, what's some of your favourite, I guess, teams, or in terms of like marketing and kind of what they do? What's your?
Oh yeah, I mean, Bristol and Leicester, like I mentioned, are just light years ahead. They're unbelievable, and they're both, and the people who run them are really good people as well. Like, they want to help other teams and stuff. So I think those two are the best. I think what Glasgow do with their supporters club, doing a lot of their social media, is really good, because they're people who are really engrossed in it and are very passionate about it and do it regularly. I know Newcastle have a lot of fan pages as well. You know, obviously, because I'm in it, I'd love for more teams to be as on it social media wise as us. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm particularly good at it. I just do it consistently, and that's how it gets our follower count up. That's my personal view on it. I'm not exactly like I'm not an expert at Photoshop. I can do Photoshop, but I'm not an expert. I can't edit videos to the level Bristol and Leicester might, but, you know, I enjoy it. But I think, you know, each team does it well. I think the Lions are good at it. If they were more consistent, I think, you know, that would be good. You know, more frequent content. But the guys behind it are really good. I think Ivan in particular is very talented at what he does. So yeah, I just wish that that some teams, you know, they've got it all there. I think the Eagles are a perfect example of a team that've got every single thing perfect apart from their digital stuff. Like, they've got this beautiful arena. Paul Blake is a genius in how he sells tickets, and commercially they are just on it. But they just don't have any social media presence, which is a real shame, because I think if they did that, they could really, really take off in the Northeast. I know they're a big franchise up there anyway, but it just takes them to another level. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to compare and to judge different teams, because you don't know the ins and outs of who does it specifically. You know, it is difficult, but yeah, in terms of the social media in the BBL, I mean, I'm putting Leicester at number one just because they've been doing it for so long, and Joe's done such a great job there. And then Bristol very close behind at number two, because Joel and Max, who do a lot of their digital stuff, are just unbelievable what they do.
Yeah.
They are, man. They're really good at what they do, man. So where do you rank the Scorchers compared to other teams in terms of basketball?
Oh man, it's so tough. I mean, sometimes I wish that people understood all the ins and outs of each team and how much money we had and you know how businesses work. I'd say, you know, in terms of, you know, this year in particular, we're a playoff team. We haven't played like it yet, which is a shame, but I'd say we're a playoff team. And I think year to year, yeah, we're always in the mix. You know, 7th, 8th, or 9th, I'd say. is a fair reflection. But I think we can definitely make the jump. I think there's definitely an idea with the Scorchers. I think it's in people's minds that we're not very good because we're one of the smaller franchises. And Mo, you'll know this full well. Someone always goes off against the Scorchers. Someone will always drop 25 on the Scorchers every game. Someone random will go off on us because there's that. I don't know what it is. I think it's just part of the idea when you think about the Scorchers. Like, they're not that good. We can go score on them. Like Jordan Whelan went for 20 last night out of nowhere. It's just like, oh my goodness, like every single time. But I think Creon is one of the best coaches in the league, and I think if you gave Creon the London Lions budget or the Plymouth Raiders budget, he'd win the league every year. Because he's the best coach. And I think the proof in that is the people that come back to him in the summer to work out and get better. So like the fact that in the summer we had Joel Freeland, Matthew Bryan Manning, Andrew Lawrence, Ashley Hamilton, Rob Gilchrist, all in the gym with Creon, getting better, working on their game. That says a lot about his development and how good he is as a coach. Because you can go and work out with anyone in the summer, but they come back to us and they come back to Creon because he's such a good coach. But again, it comes down to finances. I think Teo is one of the best players in the league. I'll always say that because he is. Even now at his age at 33, he's still a hooper and he could give buckets to anybody. It's just getting the right pieces in place. I mean, I think Leicester and Newcastle have been very, very good in the sense that they've had consistency year after year. They've had, Ramon, Drew Lasker and those guys, for example, for such a long period of time. Whereas like Surrey players come in when they're younger, they get better. And then, of course, because Creon's an honest guy, he'll say to them, go and get your money somewhere else while you can because your career is limited. And that's one of my favourite things about him is that he's very honest with his players. Like, for example, Andrew Lawrence, who's one of his closest friends, he's always said that he wants to play in Surrey. And Creon says to him, go and play in Italy and earn 10 times as much because you've only got one chance to do that. And then you can come be here when you're older, later in your career and stuff. So, sure. I mean, if we had the money that Leicester had, we'd have the best team in the league, for example. Not that I'm using that as an excuse. It's just the truth. Like, we've got a team and they're a good team and the guys we have are great. And I really think this is one of the strongest rosters we've had. So I'm hoping that in the coming weeks, things will turn around. I think bringing in Tony Hicks is huge. And I, of course, I'm close with him as well. So I wish him well anyway. And I think, if we do get things clicking, which I'm sure we will, especially with Ryan Richards in the mix as well, there's no reason why we can't be a top 6 roster if we're clicking and playing the right way.
Yeah, no, that's interesting to hear. What about, would you rank the Scorchers in terms of like the marketing and what you do? So compare yourself to like the Bristols and the Leicesters. Come on, Tom, that's what we do here.
I mean, I'd say we're not Bristol and Leicester. I'll be straight up front with you and say we're not there. But I'd say we're close behind in 3rd or 4th, maybe. I guess 3rd because I think out of the teams who have like a full-time marketing person, we're in the mix. But it comes down to the fan base. They're really loyal and they back everything that we do. We have I think the whole follow account stuff in the BBL is a load of BS because half the teams bought their followers anyway. So while we've got less followers than a lot of teams, but our engagement's like 10 times higher than theirs. Yeah, because we've got real people following us who actually care about the club and stuff. But like, for example, when I came in, we had 2,700 followers and it's been a year and now we've got 4,600. So it's almost gone up by nearly double in that time. Yeah. Which is something I'm proud of because I've been posting 2-3 times a day for the last year.
Yeah, of course.
And try to make it engaging. But I'd say we're in the mix, and I think if we follow the Leicester model over the course of the next 4 or 5 years, who knows where we'll be. Yeah. But I enjoy it, and I'm trying to grow as an individual as well with my skills and trying to get better at that as well. And hope like Joe, because Joe wasn't a social media expert at the beginning. He learned it and taught himself. Yeah. If I can do the same thing over the next 5 years, then maybe I'll be, making players invisible on videos like Joe did and stuff as well, using After Effects and whatnot. Yeah. I'd say, why not? I'd say we're 3rd behind Leicester and Bristol because those two are just the best.
Yeah, and I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there when you said it's difficult. Like organic social media is probably some of the hardest thing, like one of the hardest things in digital you can do in terms of growing. Unless you've got content that like everyone wants to see. So if you're like a global brand, obviously then it's a lot easier. But in terms of like, a quite niche organization, company account, whatnot, that's difficult. So I think, like you said, it'll take time, but I guess the formula is there for growth. And obviously what you're doing now is definitely should help that going forward as well. So
yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I'm hoping it continues to move in the way it's been going. All the figures have been going up, so I just hope it stays that way.
Yeah, exactly that way. Yeah, we're sure it will.
Man.
Yeah, definitely.
takes time. You'll be all right. You probably learn after first like a year, because it's like consistency is so hard. I'm trying to learn it as well, but I'm like super consistent, so that is hella hard. Like Premiere Pro and Photoshop's very easy in comparison, but like Illustrator and After Effects and
there's a huge process. People take it for granted how hard it is, man.
Big,
like to make consistent content. It's just different. Like you have to have a real team around you to make it work.
It's true. It's hard, very hard, super hard. But bro, you definitely do it, especially how young you are. You definitely do it for sure.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
So what's your day-to-day like at work?
Oh man, it's just it's different every day because different challenges are thrown at us all the time. I mean, in an ideal world, I'd leave my house. I still live at home because of course I'm 21. Still live with my family. I'm one of 4 brothers, so we're all over 6 foot 3.
I'll be honest, stay at home for as long as you can and put your money away, because you get your whole life to go out there and waste money on rent and mortgages. Trust me. I'm being serious, man. Like that's the one thing that anyway. I cut you off. Go on, sorry.
No, I agree with you. That's why I'm still here, because I think I don't want to try and run before I can walk.
Exactly.
Or whatever they say. But so I'll leave my house in Portsmouth. I'll get to Surrey about 8:30. Guys train at 9, so I'll go in early, do all their temperature checks, get them all in, listen to all whatever shit they're talking about today, which is usually something pretty stupid. And then of course I'll be around when they're practicing, get some video content, photography, stuff like that. These days it's very different because I've got to make a pre-game show during practice, so I'll film some pre-game show stuff, interviews, all that stuff, which is such a mammoth project every single week. And the fact we've had about 6 home games in a row means every week I've got to put some time in to make a pre-game show, which is hectic, but it's worth it 100%. So I'll do that. And then after practice, of course, I'll listen to the guys chat a bit more shit or whatever they talk about. Usually Martel running his mouth or something. But it's hilarious anyway. I'll listen to them for a little while. Then I'll go back up to the office. I'll edit whatever I've got to edit, schedule content, all the marketing stuff in the background as well. So, for example, last year it was all ticket sales and stuff like that. But these days it's about setting up streams, meetings about streams, boring stuff. Until today, it was about getting fans back in the arena in the new year. But of course, that's now been set back because we've been moved into Tier 3, which is a shame. But we'll still continue to plan for that. And there's a lot that goes into that logistically. And there's just so much you have to sort out for it. And then, of course, I then had to switch my focus to Storm, because while there's a BBL season going on, their Super League season is due to start in February. So there's a lot to sort out for that as well. Getting photo shoots done, interviews done, getting players registered and stuff like that. And of course, being around to get their content is in the evening on a Tuesday and Thursday night. So I have to, do the long haul and the long slog, which is perfectly fine because, I enjoy it. It's worth it. And I'll stick around, and the girls are all lovely. So I'll stick around. I'll just basically sit at my desk from about 11 a.m. till 7 p.m. when they come in. And then I'll go down back to the arenas. It's in a netball arena because they've taken the hoops away and put the netball hoops in. And then, or netball goals as they call it. And then I'll get some netball content, and then I'll go home, sleep because I'm absolutely exhausted. And the next day, do it all over again and find some time to edit netball stuff and all that good stuff. So day to day is, I'd love to say it's really exciting, and it is at times with the boss. When you're actually with the players, it is exciting. You get that adrenaline rush because, of course, you're in it. And then like tomorrow, we'll have film ahead of the game on Sunday with Bristol, and I'll always go and sit in and watch game film with the guys, because I feel like it's a family, and you want to be part of it, and you want to understand what we're trying to do. And Creon's a very, very good storyteller, so I always enjoy listening to him talk about different things and Ubuntu and stuff like that he's very passionate about. And so I'm always there when they do that, and so then I can start, trash talking on the sideline, going, "Come on, Joe, you're supposed to be over there." You'll get mad at me because I'm telling them what to do. I'm joking. I only play with them though. They love it really if I start talking about plays and stuff to them. But it's good though. Like just the fact that I can go down to practice and just be part of it, and no one really like turns a blind eye. It's just great, just being part of it and stuff. Yeah. And then just all the boring stuff in that big gap between the training sessions. There's such a big gap. I just use that 8 hours just to grind out all the boring stuff, really.
Yeah. That's it sounds hectic, man, honestly. I don't think a lot of people will be willing to do that, so That's kudos to
Well,
you.
I mean, a lot of people work for one sports team. I mean, and the people before me said good luck doing both. And I mean, I enjoy it, but it is a slog, and it takes a lot of time. And I'm very fortunate to have a very understanding family and partner, and friends who know that I've got to do long hours and stuff. Because a lot of people wouldn't hack it, and it's very hard to switch off when you've got two teams, because when you've got however many social media accounts to deal with for one team, let alone two, and you've got to fulfill all of them. So there's a lot that you have to do. So I'm putting stuff on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube. Times two is hectic. So it's all right. It's worth it.
Yeah. What was I going to say? All right, I think we should probably discuss something topical, which launched a few weeks ago, the BBL Player. I feel like we got to talk about that. So I guess it's twofold. We had the initial launch, and then we had a lot of backlash, and not backlash, but a lot of people expressed their displeasure at it. And I mean, credit to the people, who run it. They listened and made some changes. So I guess I wanted to, if you consider both of those aspects at the beginning bit and where we are now, kind of what's your honest opinion on the whole thing?
Sure, I will be honest about it. So, I mean, when they first kind of said it was going to happen, I thought it was a good idea. Obviously, being a fan, I look at it from a fan perspective as well as, a business perspective. So from a business perspective, of course, the teams are keeping the money. So the initial idea was very team orientated. Each club is going to benefit because each fan is going to pay for the specific games. So therefore, each club's going to make more money. But of course, in order to make money, the fans actually have to buy it. And if it's a stupid product and doesn't make any sense financially, why is any fan going to pay for it? So it was difficult. And of course, I just kind of went along with it because of all the other teams were doing it. I know Bristol were doing their own thing. Worcester decided to keep it for free, which I think is good. And then there was a point where all the backlash, we kind of had that discussion at Scorchers and said, should we go on YouTube for free as well? Because of course, go against the tide. But, we spoke to the BBL about it. We decided to stay because we feel like we've got a good product that is worth paying for because we've put in all the extra effort. So when they did change it, I thought it was good because it then gives us a lot more exposure, because all of a sudden any fan from anywhere in the country can pay to watch us because it's part of their bigger package, as opposed to like having to persuade someone in Glasgow to actually pay $4.99 specifically for our game. It just really, really reduces your reach. So as good as an idea it is from a business standpoint, the original idea, it was always flawed in the sense that no one's going to be paying 50 quid a month to watch 10 BBL games. Like, it's not going to happen. Whereas now the new product is, although it is still expensive, each team has enough from it to generate something and some sort of income, and hopefully fans get a bit more for their money. But that is the sole reason I decided we're not going with Key Motion, because there was no way in hell I was going to let fans pay $4.99 to watch Key Motion at Surrey. Not happening. Because Key Motion is a great piece of technology, but it is not ready yet. It's not ready. And for me, since we've done it, we've put in a pre-game show, halftime show, post-game show, actual cameras, like manually operated cameras, which should just be the basics in the BBL, plus the side cameras. That is at least more worth your money than paying $4.99 to see an automated camera that doesn't even see the baskets because the fast break doesn't even keep up. And I can understand your frustrations, Mo, who has to try and edit those into highlights, and half the time you miss the fast break dunks and stuff. It's just stupid. So I said, we're not doing that. And, it seems to be well received so far, but we're not as good as Bristol, because Bristol, have got fantastic setup there, and theirs is absolutely outstanding. If anyone's tuned in to watch theirs yet, and it's definitely worth $4.99 to watch theirs. But I'm hoping we're not far behind.
For sure, man. For sure, you're not far behind at all, man. Outside of yourself and Bristol, obviously you're talking about Key Motion, missing cameras and all that kind of stuff. The league as a whole, do you think it's worth the money to pay for the BBL Player?
Yes, I do, because I think it's the highest level basketball we've had in a long time in the BBL, especially looking at, of course, what London and Plymouth are doing, but then also the fact you've got teams like Newcastle and Leicester. We've got like 7 or 8 really solid teams this year. And, I've said from the start, if you can't beat the games, giving us some sort of money to help us continue to go is great. I mean, if no one's paying to watch the games, who's paying to watch the players? Like, who's paying the players? With this funding from the government, I mean, everyone can see through the cracks and see it's not what it seems. A lot of it's loans. That's just not sustainable for a league like us at all. I think fans have been very understanding in the sense it's actually helping us survive. But I definitely think it's worth paying for if you make something of it that makes it worth paying for. So, for example, I'm always going to pay to watch Leicester because they've got Dan Routledge on the call, who's just fantastic at what he does. And the camera isn't too bad at Leicester, in fairness. But without, calling out certain clubs, because it's not their fault that the camera is not very good, but the quality in Sheffield hasn't been very good. And the camera in Cheshire isn't particularly good either, which again, isn't their fault. It's just the way that it's set up. And the lighting's a bit weird in Sheffield, which makes things difficult. And, and unfortunately, when it cut out at the Plymouth game the other day, you just think, what are we supposed to do and how are we supposed to grow as a league if, for example, in April, to win the league, a game-winning shot from Liggins, for example, is missed on key motion. It's just like, well, what do we do now? Because no one's got it on camera. Like, it's as little as stupid as that sounds. Why? If I was a fan, I wouldn't pay $4.99 for that if I knew that's what we were going to get for it. So that's my honest view on it, which is why we decided not to do it. Yeah.
With the current setup of it's £20 a month now, isn't it, for the whole thing? So you get all the teams for £20. Who do you think the target market is for that? Because I can make an argument that it's probably twofold. You got BBL fans that will pay probably whatever, well, not whatever it takes, but they'll be willing to part with that kind of money. But if you're a general basketball fan, I'm struggling to understand why you'd pay. And I'll get into it a bit later, but why you'd pay that kind of money to watch, a league that isn't, in terms of objectively, just the basketball perspective, from that side. And also, for a league that's trying to grow and attract new fans, I feel like that price can be a bit of a barrier in terms of, especially for people that haven't watched the BBL before or have just come into the concept for the first time. So, I'm guessing you might know better than us, but who do you think the main target market is for the live player?
Well, I think you've nailed it on the head. It's the neutral BBL fans, people who are already engrossed in the sport, who are willing to part with their money to help it survive and maintain it. I think right now, as much as we'd like to say it's about growth, right now it's just about survival. And you've got to make use of the market we already have. And certainly from my perspective, I'm not expecting new people in Guildford to pay $4.99 to watch the Scorchers. I'm trying to keep the fans we've got, the loyal ones who are willing to, who would come every week whether we win or lose. They're the sort of people who are like, okay, they care about the club. They've met Teo. They like Teo. I'm going to watch. You pay to watch Teo and Lavelle or whoever throughout the season. And it gives us some, financial security going into next season when hopefully fans can come back, and that's when you go back and make it free and grow the league. It's just such a mad time, and I think as much as we'd like to say, we've done it for this reason, it's to make money, and there's no doubt about that. And without that. And unfortunately, because of the way the government funding is, it's not all as it seems. And although it was great to say, we've been saved, we've got money, it's not that simple. And the fact that we need to make money is just the sole reason behind it. And I think every single team would be lying if they said that wasn't the truth. So right now, the target market is kind of up in the air, whoever's willing to pay, to be honest. And we're very lucky in Surrey that we've got loyal fans who are willing to pay. I don't know what the numbers are for other teams. I know the numbers have been good for us, especially on YouTube. When we went on YouTube, we had one of the highest viewerships in the league, which was great. We haven't actually had our figures through from the BBL just yet on our figures since we've gone on the paywall. I'd love to know what they are. I've been chasing them, so I'm looking forward to finding out what they are. And if they're terrible, then we might change our mind anyway. We might just go, you know what, it's not worth it. If 30 people are watching, it's just not worth it. So it'll be interesting to find out. So to answer your question, the target market is the group who are on Twitter, going through the games every week, watching them passionately. They're the people who are willing to, pay to watch the league, no matter what product it is. And they're the people who are going to, in the long run, hopefully help it survive.
Yeah. Okay. Would you, Mo, what's your take on the BBL Player?
If I'm honest, I haven't paid for it yet because the teams that I do like to watch, I watched the next day on Synergy.
I mean, that's a very honest answer. And a lot of people said the same thing, that they haven't bought it.
I haven't really Synergy.
I haven't got it either.
Huh? You haven't got it? I haven't got it either. I want to get it. But it's the key motion thing. Like, if there's a big game, for example, if Surrey play the Lions or Plymouth or one of these big games, I'll pay to watch the actual game. If it's at Surrey. But, like, places that have, and Lions as well sometimes, but places that have key motion, like, and I'm watching a fast break and you can't see the dunk and you can't see that kind of stuff. It's hella frustrating. So frustrating. So I haven't paid for it yet. I want to pay for it just to support the league, because £20 is not like a crazy amount off my back in it. But I just don't feel like as a whole it's worth it. Like, I'd pay £10 a month to watch Surrey alone, like just Surrey games, just because of how good it is with the whole.
Tom,
appreciate that.
Just the way that they do it, and obviously I like watching them play basketball. They're one of my favorite teams to watch in the league. But like in terms of the whole league, I wouldn't pay 20 quid yet. I'm gonna pay it probably next month, but not right now.
I think you won't be alone in that, Mo. I think a lot of people will say exactly the same thing, and that's just the way it is. I know they went behind a paywall a couple of years ago and it flopped, so it'll be very interesting to see what the figures are this time around, especially in COVID times, because everyone's got to watch online. There's no other choice.
Yeah. They changed it though, from obviously one team to the whole league. So you guys don't get like a breakdown of how the revenue streams help the teams or how much you guys get off it or nothing at all yet?
Well, I mean, all we know is that, if someone subscribes to watch the Scorchers, and of course they get all the games, whichever team they click is who gets the money. So if you get all the games, you go, I'm a Scorchers fan, Scorchers get that money, which is good. But of course, if you pay $4.99 to watch a particular game, the home team gets the revenue from it. So that's the breakdown as far as I know, which is why I've been going, please click Scorchers if you're picking a team, because you get to watch everyone and then we get the money or whatever. But that's the breakdown. But we don't know what those figures are yet. I don't know who's clicked what. And hopefully every team's kind of had an even share. But it is definitely good that they changed it and listened to the fans. And that is one thing you have to, give credit to the BBL for. They're reactive when actually, maybe we made a mistake with this. We've changed it. And, even if people still don't want to pay the money, at least you'll get in every game if you do choose to pay. So, I think it's better.
And then in terms of the Sky Sports stuff, do you know the revenue breakdown for that? Or does every team get a share? Does the league get some money? Or you're not sure?
To be honest, I have no idea. I have no idea what the deal is with Sky Sports. All I know is it looks bloody good. It looks really good. So I'm very happy that we've got it, and they've gone all in, which is good. And it's no point going half-hearted. They've got such a great product that I think it's absolutely terrific that we've got that for the next 2 years.
Crazy. I went to the Lions game the other day, and I saw the whole how many cameras they had, how the setup was. It's incredible, man.
I know, it's good.
Nice.
Yeah, I think I watched the game on Sky actually. Which I guess that's another thing to consider though. Like if someone's paying for Sky Sports, which isn't cheap anyway, and then you've got the BBL stuff on top, it all adds up. And like for me, the funny thing is like with British basketball is if you try to speak objectively, someone somewhere is gonna find it offensive and take it as you're taking shots at them or criticizing, when I feel like it's all part of the conversation to help, I guess, the league grow. So when I tweeted to say, even after the changes, because like to me, speaking objectively, right, if I'm a basketball fan, my sole aim is to watch the highest level I can for the best value for money, I guess. So if you stack it all up and you've got, different, all these different players, like we're not going to use League Pass because that's the pinnacle of basketball. So it doesn't make sense. But even something like live basketball.tv. So if I'm just a general fan, which I was referring to earlier in terms of like target market and stuff, new people just watching basketball, I don't see the justification if you're not invested in the BBL and you're not trying to, you don't understand the behind the scenes of helping the leagues be sustainable. I don't see why you'd pay that money for a league pass when, objectively speaking, it's not the highest level of basketball you can watch from a subscription. And that's what I was trying to say. And that's not to say that the BBL isn't good or the players aren't good in the league. I'm just strictly speaking from a basketball perspective. But I agree. I think people that that are invested in British basketball, people that are going to do whatever to help and make sustainable is, they'll pay, whatever they need to pay, well, within reason anyway. But my thing always is like, how much of those people are out there? Do you know what I mean? Like if there's 10,000, great. If there's 1,000, then, you're in a bit of a sticky situation. So I think the player is obviously, the good thing is they're listening and they're trying to make changes. So I guess you'll have people that will follow a specific team. So like Surrey fans will follow Scorchers games. And then you'll have, just flat out fanatics of BBL. They'll binge watch everything. So what's the guy's name from Glenn? What's his name?
Yeah,
Glenn,
I know about.
what's his surname? Glenn Hardacre. Yeah, like he tweeted saying, I watch every single game, and it's like, it's great for people like that. But I just wouldn't even have the time to sit there and watch all the BBL games. So anyway, I'm like rambling on, but I still think, I mean, £20, like you said, Mo, it's not like, to to people, you know, who can do it, it's not like a backbreaker. But at the same time, as well as, you know, you think, 20 quid to support the league isn't much, but then if you're not working, if you've been hit by COVID as well, you know, that's it. So I guess it's like swings and roundabouts, really. There probably isn't a correct answer in this. I think all we can do is kind of talk about it. But I guess for me, it doesn't make sense to pay that yet, especially when I've got Sky and I can watch some of the games. And, you know, honestly speaking, the BBL has never been, you know, my favourite league to watch. And I don't think it will be, because there's obviously other basketball out there. Not saying that I'm not going to, you know, keep an eye on my friends or whatnot and watch games where I can. But hopefully we get to a point where it reduces just a little bit in price, so you can attract more people as well, especially kids from you know, inner cities or from lower income families.
And that's the thing. I think you nailed it on the head there. You have to look at it from you have to take away from the business perspective and look at it from just general life perspective. Like, it's more expensive than your Netflix subscription, so you have to look at it from a certain way. And I think that's maybe where I've benefited from the fact that I was a fan. So if I can look myself in the mirror and go, would I pay 20 quid for that? Or would I pay $4.99 for our product? Which again brings back to the whole Stack TV stuff. Yeah, I looked at it and said, well, if people are going to pay, we'll give them a show, so it's actually worth the money. And if every team did that, then of course it's then worth the money, because every team put on a proper production. But if you're getting the basics with a 20-minute break at half time where there's no sound and it's just a court, then it's like, well, you know, I've paid $4.99 for this. You know, what am I getting for it? But then again, it comes back to, you know, every team doesn't have the resource and stuff. But, you know, I think it's something that centrally could obviously be looked at, and I hope it does get looked at. But all I can do is control what I can control. I'm doing the best that I can with it. So, yeah, hopefully we can just keep moving forward, and, you know, maybe we'll benefit from it as one of the teams that actually puts in the effort and the hard work to make something of it. And then maybe we'll attract a few more neutrals to become more passionate Scorchers fans moving forward.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see the breakdown that you get from, like, the clicks, and hopefully you get like a, not just for Surrey, but like an overall league thing to see. Like,
I'll be transparent about it. I always try to be, especially with Scorchers. I'll be transparent about it. Like, I want people to know, like, this is where we're at, and then I think it gives people perspective, because, like I said, there is a perception of BBL. You know, we joke about it. Creon jokes about it, like Teo rolls up in his BMW with his name on his number plate and stuff, and people think, wow, these guys are like millionaires and stuff, or like whatever. All I said to people all the time is, look how many seats we've got. We've got 900 seats. And that puts it into perspective of where we are as a league and how much money we've got to work with. So, you know, the breakdown will put it in perspective and go, okay, so if you have 900 fans and they're all families of 4, that means the most you can get from streaming is like 200, 250 streams, because all of a sudden four tickets becomes one device because you're watching on the TV. Like, it's completely different. So you have to look at it from a different perspective. So the numbers will be significantly lower, just because people share TVs and screens and whatnot. But I think it'll be interesting to know 100%. So I'm looking forward to seeing them figures myself, and I'll make sure I pass them on to people, because I think the league's very honest and transparent anyway. So it'll be good to share that.
Yeah, I was gonna ask earlier actually about like peer-to-peer sharing, because obviously we spoke to Vince and he was saying a lot of the coaches do a lot of stuff, like peer-to-peer kind of feedback and all that kind of stuff. So is it similar in terms of the backroom stuff as well, whether it's marketing or like the admin side of it? Do you guys...
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a very close-knit league, because of course the teams are who run it. So I know that all the owners and stuff have like a weekly call and talk about stuff. But even media-wise, you know, I used to run things past Joe before he went to the NBA. I run things past Pete Simmons and Joel Osborne from time to time. They're both very busy, so I don't try to bother them too much. But, you know, we do run things past each other. And I know from an admin point of view, I know Tracy speaks to a lot of the other teams about stuff, just because it's good to share stuff, because we're all in the same boat with COVID in particular. But I think, you know, for me, I try to look at who's the best in the business of what I do. How can I get to their level? I've got to, you know, nitpick. So for example, Pete's going to kill me that I said this, but I brought in Pete Simmons to do our photo shoot this year for Scorchers. Because, you know, in my opinion, he's one of the best in the game at photography and marketing and stuff. So I got to pick his brains for like 6 hours about stuff. And then the next week he came and did the Storm one as well, the Storm photo shoot. So I've had like 2 full days with Pete learning about how he does stuff. And he was giving me advice and he talked about stuff with me and stuff. And that's how you're going to grow. And that's how every team should do it. And last year, when I literally first started, there was like a BBL conference day, and they had like a section on social media, and it was Joel and Joe Pinchin who ran that session of like an hour and a half. And for me, it was like heaven, because I just got all the good tips in like one session. And it was unbelievable. But there was only 5 teams that showed up. So it was me, a guy from Worcester, and a guy from, I think, Glasgow or something, just sat there in this empty room. And it was Joe Pinchin and Joe Osborne. Like, could you imagine how many people would love to be in that room, listening to that? And the fact that every team should have been there. And I still say that every team should be there. And if they took one thing from that, we'd all be better.
Is it not compulsory to go to that?
No, it was in Leicester. It was in the Morningside Arena. So I drove up there and listened to the whole thing. I listened to Paul Blake and Kevin Routledge talk about how to build an arena. I listened to Joel Osborne and Joe Pinchin talk about how to build a social media brand, all this great stuff. And it's just like incredible. And it's a shame because, they gave away so many free tips that day in particular. And that shows what the league is. It's very honest, and people look after each other. And from that, I was able to, have one-to-one conversations with Joe and Joel and build those relationships. But if every team had a volunteer or media person at that day, the social media game would just be raised so quickly because we've all taken stuff from the best people. But yeah, maybe that's where we're at the moment.
Yeah, it's mad how you say, to still hear in this day and age that people still neglect that side of, I guess, marketing, because that's literally at your fingertips. And there's a platform to optimize that, any given moment. And to hear that only, not everyone took up the offer of even going to that workshop is a bit mind blowing, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man. I mean, I've said this from the start. Like, just look at what Mo does with the Hooper's Voice. Look at what the Will does at BBL Fix. He's a kid, like he's a teenager, and he's got one of the biggest platforms in British basketball. And the fact that that is, I don't want to say it's embarrassing, because that is a complete disrespect to Will and what he does, because he's amazing at what he does. But how can we say we're a big time league, or like look how professional we are if we've got people like that who are one of the biggest voices and actually give us more news sometimes than the actual teams. It's crazy to me.
It's embarrassing for the clubs. That's what it's embarrassing for. Not like yourself, because you do what you do, but like for everyone else that that's behind this. Yeah.
And I always try to give people like Will and Mo a heads up of what we're going to do, like whether it's a press release or Mo, we're going to announce this later or whatever. Just so people are on the same page, rather than it going, okay, so for example, Lions haven't announced who they've released, and there was match kind of disappeared, NBA disappeared off the Lions roster, and it was like, well, what's just happened? Like, why has that not been like an official announcement? Like the disrespect is like, I don't know. Obviously, I don't know what happened to the London Lions, but stuff like that, it's just like you've got to do things the right way.
Yeah. Well, even the European game, remember, like their fans were saying, "There's 5 days to go, and we still don't know what's happening," or like there's no official. So yeah, I feel like it's sort of like 2 steps forward, 1 step back sometimes with the BBL. When it shouldn't have to be like that. But yeah, that's a whole nother conversation for another day, I think.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot we could get into with that sort of stuff.
Yeah. The Stag TV stuff. How did that? I was meant to ask earlier. How did that come about?
So, I mean, of course, we're affiliated with the University of Surrey. They, of course, own the team because we're at Surrey Sports Park. So I reached out to Stag TV, who are a student-run TV company at the university. They've done stuff like for the university stuff before, like Bucks and stuff. They've done like Bucks, netball and basketball. So I reached out to them and said, look, we want to make a TV product. And of course they'll do it at a fair price because they're students. We pay for their, their camera hiring and stuff like that. But all the students who do it are volunteers, and they are students, but they're unbelievable. I think it's a complete disservice to call them students, because they are effectively a professional TV company. They're unbelievable. So we get like a crew of 6 or 7 come in. And they come in, in their little cars, little student cars. They got a student van and stuff. It's so funny, and they're so funny because they're all like little nerds. It's like unreal because they don't know anything about basketball. I had to teach them how basketball works and like best practice. And luckily, Evan Walsh, one of our players, his dad works for FIBA, Brian, so he does all the media stuff for FIBA. So he gave me all the best practice for like camera stuff, which I then passed on to them, and they just soaked that in. And so every week our products become better and better. But yeah, like I said before, I said from the start, I wanted it to be a good product, and Stag TV have absolutely delivered in the sense that it looks professional and it looks good for the BBL. I wouldn't say, of course, it's top tier, like comparing us to EuroLeague or whatever. But for what we are, where we are, I think it's one of the best. And I'm very, very, very proud of what we've been able to do in a short space of time to make it happen. Yeah. So all credit to Stag TV. They're unreal.
Yeah. Sorry, Mo, go on.
I said it was a great product.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
And it's weird, like it's not weird, but there's a lot to tap into. Even like a uni and going to the students to for TV production. Like I'm sure every team could probably find a link somewhere, but it's just how much you're willing to, go out there and look, really.
Yeah, there's a lot of work that goes into it. Yeah.
Yeah, of course, because you're getting a service, for a better price than you would by paying a professional media company. And I'm hoping people, see beyond that, as in like you don't have to go to the niche, not the niche, the creme de la creme for that kind of stuff. There's probably other options out there that are more feasible. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's good that in the fact that it's like it set the mold a little bit. Bristol did such a good job of theirs, and of course we were kind of working on this behind the scenes. But I know a lot of other teams are now going to try the halftime shows and stuff, which is good. I think sometimes just going against the grain and doing your own thing sometimes does pay off. And if other teams start trying it, doesn't matter what quality, it's just something to add to that coverage is like a big step forward. So hopefully it kind of sets the tone for what we're all trying to do.
Yeah,
of course, man. You always got to try and disrupt the norm, disrupt the market, and what you're doing, and that's what makes changes, especially in the digital field. So,
yeah, sure,
hopefully
man. Stir the pot a little bit.
yeah, exactly.
So, what do you see for the future in terms of like media and production for the Scorchers?
Oh man, I mean, you know what? I just want to grow it year to year and help. Ultimately, the long term goal, of course, like any team, is to get our own facility, and to play a role in that would be to grow the fan base through our digital, through ticket sales and all that stuff, through our community coaching. So for me, it's not necessarily about having the most numbers or having the most followers. It's just having the right people following us who are actually like engaged and willing to do stuff for us.
Nice.
And if we do it that way and fill the arena week to week, which we were doing before lockdown. So like usually for Scorchers, the most sellouts we've had in the season was 2. It's New Year's Day, which we always sell out. And then when we played in the playoffs one year, before lockdown, we had 4 sellouts in a row. So it was good, and obviously like NBA came in and it was getting exciting. We literally had signed Andrew Lawrence just before the lockdown. So things are getting exciting. And of course that makes my job really easy because if we've got the top players, people are going to watch us. So I think a combination of winning on the court, which I think is just around the corner, plus, just being a bit tech savvy and just being consistent, like we talked about Mo and stuff like that, that'll grow us in the right direction. And then from there, for me, it'd just be about developing my own skills, doing the TV stuff, like doing the actual productions and stuff, I think makes a big difference. It might not be social media specific, but like being part of the bigger production makes a big difference in this day and age. And if that can propel us forward, then great. As long as the team does well, that's the main thing. And then for me, from there, I'll just see what happens. I'm sure, hopefully, opportunities might arise in the future. And Creon's always said, he thinks I'm going to do big things and stuff. But right now, I just want to get in a position where, whether I'm here or not, I'd love for the Scorchers to have their own facility and have their own arena, because that's what's going to drive them forward. And then all of a sudden, it becomes a much, much bigger project. So that's the long-term vision for everybody, and I'm very much invested in that.
Yeah, and I'd like to say, like, what's I get the same question, but for the league overall, like, what do you think? What do you see not what do you see for the future, but kind of what does success look like for the BBL in terms of market and exposure? The game going.
Man. There's so many things there's so many directions you could take it. I think the BBL just needs to invest in social media and marketing. I think, like I said before, Selena's doing a great job for what she's got and for the opportunities that she has. Her hands are tied sometimes, and and she doesn't hide that, and I think that's good. But just having people in it who understand what the fans want makes such a big difference. The fact that the volunteers are terrific, and I can't discredit any of them because they're volunteers and they're fantastic and standing up and helping teams and stuff. But having people like Joe Pinchin, who loves basketball and played basketball, he knows exactly what the fans want to see. If every team has someone like that, and the BBL have someone in their media team who is like that, you will watch all the figures go up, and all of a sudden all the coverage will be better. Because if someone like me, who's 21, can make a half decent TV production, imagine what a basketball junkie who's done a degree in whatever, what they can do, I think that's going to be the way that we grow. Because, at the end of the day, the BBL make a great product. Like the playoff finals at the O2 Arena, for God's sake, like you can't get much bigger than that in the UK. And of course the on-court play is good as well. It's just the stuff around that. Like I said before, if you had a manual camera every game, even that is a start of making it a better product to watch and stuff like that. So I think that's the thing. Just having the right people involved that are willing to go the extra mile to try and grow it. and getting some big sponsors in as well would be good for the league. You know, having a big brand like, for God's sake, like Nike or someone who are willing to take it on and make it something, that would be good. But we'll see. You know, I'm pretty sure it's the last year with Kappa this year. I think it's like a brand sponsor of the league, so it'd be interesting to see where we go from there. I see you're gonna, it'd be interesting to see.
Teo's gonna get Puma for you. Don't worry.
Hey, I've been nagging Teo for ages about Puma, but you know we're tied in with Kappa right now, so we can't even do anything as a club with Puma. But we'll see in the future what happens.
Yeah, that'll probably give you a good indication of where the league is as well. Like when it's time to get a new manufacturer on board.
Yeah,
I guess you'll be able to tell by who steps forward, I guess.
Yeah,
So,
being on Sky Sports makes a huge difference.
Yeah, exactly.
That's an absolute game change for any brand. The fact that we're on there. And that's what I've always said, you know, with the stuff that I do, having sponsorship with Scorchers has never really been an easy task because, of course, we are a small franchise compared to, you've got Chelsea and Fulham up the road. You've got Harlequins who train at the same place as us, much bigger reach. So how do we get sponsors in for us? Well, if we're on Sky Sports, we're on BBC One every week, we're on the radio, we're in the newspapers, then, it gives people more of an incentive to buy in and buy into the team and what we're trying to do. And if you do that league, across the board, and we've all got that national coverage, then sponsors will come running anyway. So that might be another way to grow the league and having people invested like that as well. Yeah.
Have you tried speaking to Harlequins or reaching out to them, trying to do some cross collaboration stuff?
Yeah, I know Creon's done it for many years. He has a really good relationship with them, just because they've been around for a long time. He's joked before about becoming the Harlequin Scorchers and stuff, but of course that's something we're not going to do. But it would be mad if we did. But you know what? Stuff like that is huge. And funnily enough, the Harlequins players love the Scorchers and they come to the games quite a lot. So it's funny, really. You see these big burly men coming, you're like, oh, bloody hell, But no, it's good. But I mean, the main person for Scorchers who could actually be a game changer, of course, is Joel Freeland, who comes to a lot of the games and is very close with Creon as well. And I know he's got plans in the future to do exciting stuff in basketball. I know at the moment he's just trying to figure out what that is. But I know he's very much going along the lines that he wants to do something to help British basketball. So as soon as he figures that out, I think that's going to make a huge difference. And hopefully, we'll hopefully see people like Lowell and Pops do something as well. I know, in their talk a few months ago, Pops got turned down from working with Basketball England, which is just sums up where we are, to be honest. But having people like that just come back and help drive the league forward would be good. And I think having Joel involved with Surrey is massive because he's been there and done it, and he knows what the best practice is. And he'll be able to move us forward as well because he'll see it through. What better eyes to see it through than someone who's been there at the NBA and seen it at the highest level? Yeah. So hopefully in the next couple of years, whenever that might be, we'll be able to get something going with Joel as well. I'm excited for that.
Hopefully.
Yeah. That is a good way to summarize it, or wrap it up, I guess. Pause. What was I going to say? Do you have any questions for us or anything you want to discuss that we missed, or just?
I just love to know where you guys think the BBL is from a media perspective, if you're being honest about it, because of course, for me, I do have to bite my tongue sometimes on social media because I see things, I disagree with it and stuff, but of course, you guys are doing a terrific job, respectively, for what you're doing and stuff. And I've always said, for you, Mo, of the Hoopers Voice, it's such a good platform and stuff like that for what we're trying to do as a league and showcasing the players and stuff. And I know you've got a good relationship with a lot of the players. Where do you think it's at, and where do you think teams should be turning to grow it, from an outside point of view?
I feel like teams should copy each other. In a sense where if someone does it great, like you said, like a Bristol, like a Riders, they should copy them. Maybe they can't afford to have, their own app and, all that kind of stuff. But they can copy them in terms of the way they do social media. They can copy you guys. You don't have an enormous budget, but still get stuff done. In terms of the league, I feel like the teams do much better than the league in terms of a presence. So if you go on different teams' socials, they have way better socials than the actual league does, which is a big setback. Because if you're a new fan, if I go to a Scorchers game and I love the game, I'm going to follow the league straight away, for example. That may happen. And then the league's socials look like trash. But their Twitter's pretty good. They're very consistent with their Twitter. The Twitter's great. They post highlights all the time, but their Instagram is very rubbish. People use Instagram more than they use Twitter. And then their Twitter, they post any highlight. And I think that's a big issue because if we're just posting like a layup, you can't post every highlight and be like, wow, Lukas did a layup. Like, nah, bro, like, who cares? Like, some of the commentating is a bit crazy because they'll scream over like a fast break dunk that's not really flashy, just a flush. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, the littlest, like, I'll say this to the rim, they'll just go, it's like that, nothing fancy, just to finish.
Yeah.
And because they're 6'6", yeah, they can dunk on command, but they're not trying to do a windmill or something crazy. And it's like, guys will scream over the dunks. It's like, I think in terms of the league, like, if you had to age it as a human being, it's probably like 14, 12 years old, and it's in its adolescence. I think in about 10 years' time, it's going to be a great product. Like, they're just going to be BBL Player. And obviously, there's going to be issues with it because it just came out. But I feel like in the coming years, it'll be a great product. The league will be a great product. It's just if they want it to be. Do you know what I mean? Because there's opportunities there. Like, you can literally see everything. If you look at other teams, other leagues, they all copy each other. One guy has an idea, the other guy will copy it because nothing's original. I feel like it has a lot of potential, but right now, the talent's great. There's a lot of talent. Like, this is the most talent I've seen in a long time on a lot of teams. It's good to watch. But in terms of like the actual product itself, where socials and the games and the videos and all that kind of stuff, it needs a lot of help. But I feel like it will come in the next few years because Selena does a great job, like you said, and she just started. So, give us some time. Hopefully, it'll be good.
Yeah, I've got faith, man.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what you want to add to that. You kind of answered everything there, but I think it's interesting what you said about like teams, copying each other, learning from each other, which is why I asked about the breakdown of the revenue for the streams, because let's say, obviously it'll depend on like your fan base and kind of how well the team's playing. But if you get the numbers and you see that Glasgow had exceptional sign up or whatever, it'd be good to like for the other teams to kind of see what they did to make that happen, kind of thing. Why did so many people subscribe? Like, what it was, what did you do before the game? Like, what did you do during the game? Like, what did you do afterwards? That kind of thing. So there's a lot of that peer-to-peer stuff that I already mentioned. I also feel like what you said earlier about the workshop in Leicester, wherever it was, and not everyone going. I think that's crazy. I think it should be. I feel like the league should make it its kind of duty to make sure that everyone's on board and everyone's. It's compulsory to attend, because you're not going to grow the game if 5 people want to go in front and then 4 of them want to sit back down. So it's got to be a collective effort across the board from everyone. And I know it's franchise, but I feel like obviously the league is still the league. It's the they're in charge essentially. So I feel like they've probably got, they do have a responsibility to make sure that everyone that's within the league are at a level that, that's okay, or that's kind of respected. In terms of all the other stuff, I mean, I guess it's just how much teams are willing to go kind of the extra mile. Like, for example, like what you're doing, like I said earlier, not a lot of people would probably, be prepared to do that on a regular basis. And it's even more difficult for yourself because Surrey isn't near Guildford. It is near Guildford, isn't it? Surrey Sports Park.
It's in Guildford,
it's not like that's the hotbed of the British life. Not like it's not the most exciting. But like compared to like Stratford, where Lions play, there is a lot of potential to for them to like emphasize and amplify with all these different businesses, and they've got like student accommodation on every corner in Stratford, and that's probably like when you're at uni, like what do? You go to your lectures sometimes, and then when it comes to the evening time, you find some entertainment and you go have a drink. So like, why not go to a basketball game and then kick off your weekend or whatever, or kick off your day. So like, I think it's just how much you're willing to put in, and especially like you're doing such a great job at a smaller market than some of the other teams are. I feel like what Mo was saying, to try and copy that model and bring it across to like a bigger city, bigger town, and then that should hopefully be the catalyst for just for growth naturally anyway. So, but I do think we're in a lot better place than we were, I don't know, 5-6 years ago.
For sure.
The league's grown. The players this year, like the overall talent, like I think you both said it already. You know, it's probably at a level that we haven't seen since, you know, the 90s, when it was like, you know, the BBL was part of essentially British culture, really, during that period. So I think the talent's there. Is just, you know, nurturing that and, you know, kind of surrounding it with the correct setup in terms of audio, of course, stuff, and maximizing the product, really. So yeah, that's what I think.
Hey man, that's a big part of what you said, because it's funny, because before all the COVID stuff happened, we started doing birthday parties for Scorchers. So like, you know, we get like 12, 10-year-old kids to come watch together. And every single time they'd absolutely love it, because it's like fast paced, entertaining, big dunks. The parents would go, "We had no idea this was here." It's like,
yeah, exactly.
That just sums up where we are. They didn't even know we had a team here. They come along, it's like £8 compared to going to watch Chelsea, it's like 70. And for that money, you get like a really good product. It's how do we translate that amazing game day product into something digital so that you can grow it? Because, you know, for me, as stupid as it sounds, us being in the local newspaper can actually be more beneficial than anything I do on Instagram, because you're reaching people in Guildford as opposed to just people nationwide. That's
true, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I feel like we've answered a lot today and we've discussed a lot, and it's good. And it's kind of, you know, I always feel like it's about half the job is conversations and speaking to people that will hopefully, you know, propel things forward anyway. So yeah, again, I just really appreciate you coming on, chatting to us during this late evening. Was it 10:42 now? It's like way past my bedtime. Yeah, mate.
Time flies. It's good. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
When you're having fun, yeah. No, honestly, it's been a blast. Mo, you got anything to add? You know Harlequins. That's a rugby team, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just letting you know, Mo.
Yeah, I know.
What was it last time when who did Vince?
I can't remember who you mentioned. But I have no idea who he was talking about.
Yeah, Brian Clough, like the Nottingham Forest manager, and Mo was like, I don't know who that is really. Like, yeah, it's a bit of a inside joke.
It's a bit mad because like I've opened the door for Chris Robshaw before at Starbucks. It's a bit mad because it's like, oh my god, it's Chris Robshaw. Like, what's going on? And like the other week we had Tammy Abraham come in to do a shoot at, like on the AGP pitches and stuff. It's crazy. Like, it's a crazy place.
Yeah, man. Yeah, been a pleasure.
Thank you, appreciate it.
My friend Mo's gonna chop this up and put it on the old internet.
On the internet.
And the keyboard warriors commence.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, that's honestly, man. Like sometimes, right, I feel like I want to say so much about the BBL and like just from like an objective. Because like one of my things last year, New Year's, my resolution was to be like more objective and like, you know, don't get influenced by personal attachments and just try to see things clearer. And I feel like when I do that with the BBL, sometimes like, fuck me, excuse my French, it's like some of the stuff, like the comments, tweets, or even like the indirect subliminals, I'm like, why are we behaving like children? Like if you want to have a conversation and you want to help something grow, like why not just have it? Like that one guy, I don't even know his name, but I said to him, I think it's too expensive, 20 quid. He's like, well, you know, that's why Bellens like you shouldn't watch the BBL. Fuck off, mate. And I'm just like, well, I mean, at least elaborate and like put together a decent argument or whatever, and let's talk rather than just, you know, hear something you don't like and then, you know, get all butthurt about it. So
it's a lot of old heads in BBL who think they're right.
A lot,
kind of annoying. And it's funny because like even from my experience, I'm 21. People don't like listening to me because they think I don't know what I'm talking about. It's like, but I'm in it. Like I'm actually in it, and I've learned so much in 1 year from Creon and Teo and those guys. I know more than any of them will ever know about BBL. It's quite funny though because you can tell people who don't like listening to me. I think it's funny.
Yeah, end of the day, man, you just got to like what you do speaks for itself. So, you know, even if they don't listen to you, they can see what you're putting out there, and that speaks volumes. So, yeah. All right, cool.
Anyway, man,
it's been a pleasure,
bro. Appreciate it, man. Take care.
Appreciate
it. Thanks, guys. Good to finally meet you both officially as well. Appreciate it.
And yeah, enjoy holidays.
Thanks, man. You too. Have a good Christmas, guys.